What's up, family? What it do? It is your cousin Cleisha here. If you're new here, welcome to Closing Open Wounds with yours truly. I am Cleisha. I'm your cousin, and we talk all things life here, where we promote healing and wholeness in a safe environment. This is a safe environment. Again, if you're new, I welcome you. Now, for all my cousins that have been here for a while, you know I don't play when it comes to children. I don't play when it comes to the life of children and how they need to be corrected and directed. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I have something a little bit different. So it's not a reaction video per se. It's actually a reaction post. I came across a post a few weeks ago, and I have been sitting on this. I'm not going to lie. But today, God gave me the burden, so we're going to talk about it today. So I want to read something to you, and I want to get your honest feedback, and I pray that you hear my heart when we discuss this further. The post reads as this. This is a death row inmate who asked for his last wishes before execution. He requested a pen and paper to write to his mother. Okay, so he's on death row. They asked what was his last wish, and he wants to write a letter to his mother. The letter reads as such. Dear Mom, if the law was fair, you would be sitting next to me, waiting to be executed. But since the law is blind, I am the only one convicted for the crimes we've committed together. Mom, do you remember when I was 3 and I stole my brother's sweets? You said nothing. At 5, I took our neighbor's toys. You didn't correct me. When I was 12, I hid my cousin's ball, and you pretended not to see it. At 15, when I was expelled, Dad wanted to punish me, but you argued with him and defended me. When I was 17, I stole a bike and you stayed silent. You loved me, but you never corrected me. Now I am here because of that. By the time you read this, I will be gone. Your loving son. To all parents, Proverbs 13:24, those who spare the rod hate their children, and those who love them are careful to discipline them. The post ends by saying, love your children, but do not forget to discipline them. I'm sorry, I had to ring the bell on you. This is so true. This is so true. And I'm reminded of so many things. So I didn't write any notes down. So I pray that the Holy Spirit really gives me everything to say to you, because my mind is just overwhelmed. When I read this post, and me being a boy mom, I have a 24-year-old and an 18-year-old son, black men, of course. This touched me very, very deeply. The Bible also says in Proverbs 22:6 to train up a child in the way that they should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Very important. If you don't believe in anything, you have to believe in God. You need to believe in the Bible. It has really good principles to make you a decent human being, for lack of better words. It's much more than that. But if you're new to this walk in Christ, or if this is your first time coming across anything about Bible and scripture, please take heed to these scriptures that were just given to you. I'm grieved about this. As a mom, there were times where I was a single mom. There were times where I was married and still felt single. However, I wanted my children to be successful. I did not want to lose my children to the system. Black men, my beautiful black sons, I vowed that they would not be a statistic, that they would make something of themselves. It has been instructed in them, since a very, very young age. If you look at the children today, you and I will agree that there is a lack of respect. There is so much entitlement, the spirit of entitlement upon these children. There's so many different things that these children, their proclivities are just negative, much different from how we were raised. And this is what I believe is mostly the problem. And I'm sorry, but it is our parenting. I'm going to take it there. Now, this is just my opinion. This is not, I'm not generalizing everything, but a lot of what we see is a lack of parenting. Let me tell you my perspective of it. And like I said, who am I? I'm just a woman with observations, and I'm just talking to my cousin. So it's not law. It doesn't have to go anywhere beyond you and me. But this is what I believe. Growing up in the 80s, as an 80s baby, we suffered a lot. It was hard, and it was we were disciplined. Some of us partly abused, unfortunately. It was hard growing up in the 80s. And even for me, the 80s being the big drug epidemic that it was, it took my parents from being able to raise my siblings and I. So we were raised, me and my brother was raised by my grandparents, which was like an old school foundation for us. And I've grown to appreciate that. Even though it was tough, it was like, do what I say and this and that. It gave us respect. It helped us to honor our parents in a healthy way. If you grew up in a healthy home, this is only for, people that grew up in a healthy home, and which I did, praise God. It gave me structure. It gave me God. It helped build a foundation on what I was to, raise my kids. Now, there were some things that, I didn't understand as a child. There was some things that, I thought it was just too much. It was, too much, it was just a lot going on. So I understood that. Now, the other hand, the other end of the spectrum, when my mother did come around, she was a friend to me. She really couldn't discipline me. She wasn't there. However, she was a friend to me. I always felt like I could talk to my mom. I always felt like that's one good thing that she did give me. She did give me that open door to talk about things that I didn't feel comfortable talking to my grandparents about. I respected them, and growing up and with the age gap, there was certain things that I just thought my grandparents didn't understand. And because obviously my mom was only 19 years older than me, I felt as though that she could better understand. So I had that firmness, that respect, that reverence, of old school. And I had that open door with my mom. And there was a lot of things that I went through that me and my mom discussed, and she was there for me. There are many testimonies of that. So what I did when I got older, and I said, when I had kids, I'm going to be like a hybrid between both, where I'm going to raise my children in structure with the most stability that I could, with respect and direction, but also have that open door of communication. Whereas when you need a friend, come to your mom. I didn't want my kids to grow up, and something happens and they're like, oh my God, I can't tell my mom. I wanted them to be like, oh my God, I got to tell my mom. I wanted them to be able to come to me with anything, but at the same time, still have that respect for me and that respect for their own lives, that they make something of themselves. And I'm going to tell you, raising my kids that way was not favorable to the people close to me, to my family, to people who didn't understand. Even now when I'm thinking about it, I was prophetic even in that. And I said, if I raise my kids how my family is being raised and other people that I saw, it's not going to end good. And when God blessed me to have boys, I said, I really got to be on them, because I need them to be able to be the foundation for their families, for their wife and their children. I need to instill the principles of, learning how to budget, how to wash clothes, knowing how to be domestic, knowing how to pay bills, teaching them about credit. I mean, at a very young age, teaching them responsibility. Sometimes when I was single and I was working and going to school, I had to rely on my oldest, at let's say 12, 13-year-old, to wake up his 6-year-old brother and get them ready for school because I had to be to work at 6 a.m. I had to give them structure. I had to instill in them a decent bedtime. At 8:30 at every night, my house was quiet. They had structure. Do your homework. You get an hour or two to yourself. You go out and play. You get in here, you clean up this house, and you get your tail in the bed, after your shower and everything. It was very routine. It was very structured because I wanted them to have those principles because our children are loaned to us. Your child does not belong to you. Your child is going to be someone's parent. Your child is going to be someone's spouse. So therefore, it is your job as a parent to equip them with the necessary knowledge of what they're going to need. So growing up in the 80s and 90s, no, we didn't have everything. And you know what? I thank God for it. But people my age, what have you done? What you have done is saying, you know what? I hated the way my parents raised me. I didn't like it. So I'm going to let my kids just do whatever they want to do. You're doing a disservice to your child. Why? Because a child, even though they don't know it, they want structure, especially boys. They want structure. They want discipline. And even if they don't want it or don't know, they need it. They need it. The destruction of these children has a lot to do with the parenting. What else happened? We became parents younger and younger and younger. So now you parents are raising your children. You're smoking with them. You're drinking with them. You're letting them use foul language around you. So where is the respect? If they don't respect you, how can they respect authority? How can they respect the teachers and the principals and those who have rule over them? You did not instill that to them, in them as a child. Again, you've done them a disservice. Not only have you done them a disservice, you've done the community a disservice. And you wonder why we are in the place that we are. Why? Because we grew up poor and we didn't have anything. So you give your child everything that you didn't have instead of teaching them everything that you didn't know. Oh yeah, it's heavy in here today. Because I play about a lot of things, but one thing I don't play about is the lives of children. It was tough raising my kids. I didn't let them do whatever they wanted to do. I didn't let them spend a night everywhere. I had to protect them. That we were having Sunday dinner a few weeks ago and my kids was like, yeah, mom didn't let us start going out till we were 13, 14. I was like, oh my God, I did that. But you know what? I suffered a lot of sexual abuse. And even though we don't talk about it a lot, boys suffer a lot of sexual abuse as well. It is our job. It is our duty to protect our children by any means necessary. Now, that does not mean coddle them, because that's one thing that I didn't do. If you don't know, you might, like I said, my kids are 6 years apart. They are oil and water. I actually have a video called Oil and Water. Check it out. 2 different children, 2 different perspectives. There's not a one size fit all when you have multiple children. Where my oldest, I bred him to be the oldest, to be a leader, to be independent, to handle things. And he was very militant. He had a very militant mind due to the side of his father as well. So he was like a no nonsense kid. And he grew up kind of angry. Whereas 6 years later, I have a whole love bug who, if you yell at him too loud or too much, he's going to get emotional. So I had 2 different children, 2 different perspectives. So when my kids ask me, and people ask me, how did you raise them? I used one child to heal the other. Yeah. When, my oldest wanted to give instruction to my youngest and my youngest didn't want to listen because he wanted to be hard-headed and he was a handful, or when my oldest was being too mean or too rough to the youngest and the youngest was upset, pull it in. We're having a family meeting. And as men, especially as men, it is very, very important at a young age that you let your children learn how to communicate effectively without storming off. They're going to need these principles of knowing how to communicate to their families as they get older. No, pull it in. Tell your brother how you made him feel, and you tell him how you feel about the situation. What could you have done better? I used one to heal the other. And then by the end of it, and it might take an hour or two. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I did this because of that. And he says, I should have listened. There were times where, my oldest is daycare. Take your brother with you. Take him with you. Take him with you. And then there was times where, because they were different age group, no, Michael, the youngest, because you don't know how to listen, not even in the house, you're not going with your brother. You sit down in this house. Balance. Knowing when to do what. Putting them in situations where they only had themselves to rely on. Because I told them from a very young age, I am not always going to be here. And you have a brother. And because you have a brother, he better not ever be hungry or homeless. I don't care which one it is. Who is doing what? You better take care of your brother. He is all you have. Sometimes when they got into different disagreements, I sat back in my room and just see if they could work it out or not, if I had to step in or not. Balance, wisdom. And as much as they fought as kids, y'all would not believe the relationship that they have today. I'm even amazed that it worked. I didn't let my kids say yeah or answer me what. Or raise their voice at me. My oldest, oh my God, he was an angry child, and there's reasons for that. So he would yell a lot. And heck, I yell a lot too. I'm a loud person. I sing loud, I'm loud. My kids are loud. It happens, right? But when we're going through different things, and when we're talking, but Mom, I'd be like, hello, who are you talking to? And he would be like, Mom, all I am saying is that, and we would do that all the time until he got it. Now he has a fiance that he knows how to communicate with. And I'm not saying that they're perfect. Oh my God. I'm not saying that my children are perfect, but what I am saying, they are decent humans in this society. What I am saying is I get many compliments on how I raise them, the respect that they have, even knowing when to open a door for someone, knowing, when to get something that's too high for someone that is elderly, knowing how to be gentlemen. This is what we're lacking. All throughout their years, I would ask them, I would check in. What do you want to do when you get older? What do you want to be? What is your profession? What are you feeling? When they got to high school, and I said, listen, if you don't make a plan for you, I'm going to make a plan for you. If you don't know what you want to do, I'm going to tell you what you're going to do. Because as a parent, I had to sit back and see, what could my child do to earn a living, a decent living, and provide for his family and be successful? What would give him a high successful rate? My kids hated school. I knew college was out of the question. And I understand that why, people are paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get degrees that they don't even work in, when you could pick up a trade with less or no, debt at all. Okay. Oh, it was tough. My son, my oldest, and, not to tell his testimony or whatever, he spent 5 years in high school. And I said, no, baby, you got to get this. You need this. You can't start anything without your high school diploma. I am sorry. You got to get up. You got to go. Da, 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 da. Oh my God, for 5 years. When he graduated, I said, hallelujah. I said, now I'm going to take you to this trade school. We're going to do a tour. Gave him a brochure. Pick something out of there that you're going to do. Mechanic, HVAC, plumbing, electrician. There was a whole bunch of other things. He picked as an electrician. Now he's an apprentice and he graduated from it. Little debt. But I said he can work with his hands. It's something that he can do, something that he can be proud of, and that he can take care of his family. You're always going to need an electrician. They're never going to go out of style. No matter how many computers or whatever you have, and all this AI and all that, you're going to need an electrician, right? Don't force your kids to go to college if it's not for them. College is not for everybody. I didn't want my kids to have debt. Okay. I taught them about credit and everything, and just how to be stable at a very young age. They've had credit cards since they were 13 years old, how to budget, teaching them about the percentage rates and APRs and interest and all of that. Generational wealth, stuff that we are not teaching our kids. Again, you're doing a disservice. I didn't just grow up and learn this stuff. I had to learn the hard way. Y'all know 80s and 90s, we didn't need credit like that. You had cash, you made the money, you had your little pay stubs, you good. We're in a different world now. I didn't have anyone to teach me. I had to file for bankruptcy many years ago. And from then I said, oh, heavens no. I learned the hard way and taught my kids, and I taught them what I knew and what I'm knowing, what I'm learning. That's what you're supposed to be doing, not buying them the latest Jordans and the latest iPhone, stuff that will perish. What principles are you instilling into the minds of your children? What are you doing? When my youngest graduated high school, we were coming to the end, and I noticed that Michael, and both of them have this trait where they can minister to people or just give them good advice, or like they can really talk. They have wisdom because I gave it to them, but I realized that they didn't mind sharing it. And a light really hit with my youngest. I said, okay, Junie, he's a junior, so I call him Junie. I said, I want you to go into corrections. I really want you to be in a youth facility. I'm still praying on that. I want you to go into corrections. So we Googled it. We didn't know where to start. We didn't know. No one in our family's in corrections. But I said, you can minister in that and help change the lives of young boys your age. Because when Junie was in school, he would come home with these stories, and he would talk about how he told his peers about credit, how the teacher is talking about credit and he knows all the answers. And the teacher's like, well, kudos to Michael's mom. And people would ask him stuff. The youth would ask him stuff and just different that. And he would share that wealth with them. I said, I want you to go into corrections. So 2 days after he graduated high school, he enrolled in a corrections program. Currently, he's in boot camp. And he's still ministering to people already. Now, I don't know which facility he's going to be in. He's going to be making 6 figures before he's 20. No debt. Oh, is it a tough job? Absolutely. Is boot camp gruesome? They cut all my baby's hair off. But when I tell you, I'm already seeing a change in this boy. I tell people my sons will forever be my greatest accomplishment. Forever. My children will always make sure I am taken care of. My sons, I will lack for nothing. I don't lack for anything now on my own. Imagine when my children, when they graduated, they had 750 plus credit scores because I monitored their credit. I taught them, like I put them in a place for them to be able to sustain. My greatest accomplishment. This is your duty as a parent, even if you didn't give birth to them. If you're an auntie, if you're an uncle, you're a counselor, whoever God has put under your stewardship. Are you preparing them for life? These kids are growing up. They don't know anything about credit. They don't know anything about budgeting. They don't know anything about, legacy or family generational wealth. They have no idea. It's a foreign language. I told my son to go get me a money order, and he was riding around in his car. His friends were with him. He said, oh, I gotta go get a money order. The kids who he graduated with, oh, what's a money order? Are you freaking kidding me? You're not teaching your kids about a checkbook, how to balance it, about paying bills with money orders and things. You're not? You didn't set them up a banking account, a debit card? I sent Michael to the store. He was about 13, 14 years old. And he had a debit card. And He goes up to the register, he swipes, and the guy behind him, black gentleman with a young daughter, he said, that's what I'm talking about. He said, that's where I'm trying to get you to be. He's talking to his daughter. He said, I can tell you were raised by a single mom. And he was like, yeah. Prepare your children for life. You have to start somewhere. If you're drinking, smoking with them, having these illicit conversations all the time with them, they're not going to hear you when you do need to speak to them. They don't respect you. They don't respect you. I've never had obscene language around my parents, and I'm grown. I'll be 44 in 2 weeks. Never did it with my mother when she was alive. And I don't do it with my grandparents. What are you doing? You have a responsibility. Their lives are on your hands. You want to be their friend, or do you want to save their life? Then you wonder why they're in the system. I'm sorry. You guys, you know I love you dearly, but we have to do better. You're worried about the wrong things. You have not prepared them for life. And when you don't do that, when they get up out of your house and when they hit, and they go out in the real world, life just slaps them upside the head. If you coddle them, if you don't keep it real with them, like, look, nobody outside that really cares about you. The suicide rate is so high between 10-year-olds and 34-year-olds. You've given them this false reality, like, puppies and unicorn and everybody loves you and da 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 da. No, the world don't care. They don't care. My youngest is the youngest in boot camp right now. People are like, oh my God, you're 18. What are you doing here? He's the youngest. And these are the stories that he's telling me. And, he's pretty athletic, so he's fine in that area. But when people are coming through the physical part of it, the mental part of everything, and there are like boys a little older than him, they're crying and wanting to quit. I can't do this. I'm sorry, my opinion. You did not prepare this person. Like, they want to quit because it's tough. Back in my day, if you didn't make the football team, you didn't make the football team. If you wasn't a good dancer for the cheerleader, you got cut. Now, no child left behind. Everybody's a winner. Everybody's included. Wrong, because it's not like that in the real world. You're going to get fired if you don't do the job. Period. No one cares. If you do find someone that cares, it is a blessing to find people in the workplace or in your schools and things like that, in college and whatever, that care about you. It's a blessing. It's favor. It's not normal. This world is cruel. Look at all of the violence that is going on in the world today. You think this world is nice? I've always kept it 100 with my kids, and people didn't understand it. Like, oh my God, you tell your kids that, you told them this. I did. On the level that they could understand as they were young, I surely did. They're not surprised by what they see. They got it from me. I didn't expect this to go this long, but yeah, parents, we got work to do, or it's only going to get worse. You have an obligation to raise the children that God gave you stewardship over. Like I said, they do not belong to you. I pray that you hear my heart. This was all from love. I believe in tough love. So This is how I am with my kids. There's a time, oh, I love you. And then there's a time for that. And there's a time where like, look, this is what we dealing with. Kids are more resilient than you guys give them credit for. You're going through family transitions. Things are changing. You're getting a divorce. You got to move. Things are happening. You got to move in with somebody else. Tell your freaking kids as soon as possible. Prepare them. You would not believe how many people I talk to who do not have transparent conversations with their children. Sad. Sad. You wait till the last minute, you pull the rug from up under them. You're living a lie. And then you wonder why kids resent you. I took my kids through a lot of transitions, y'all. I was young trying to find my way. Married, divorce, married, divorce. Like, yo, I went through a lot. Moving. But you know what? I prepared them. Look, life be shifting. Life be moving. We a family. You know, I remember even, you know, when I was getting divorced, I said, Michael, we got to leave. We're going to move. You know, I want to be closer to our family because I still need help with you guys. Where do you want to move? What do you want to do? And my son, he was probably like 10-ish, 8. And he was like, Mom, I get to choose where we go? I said, of course you do. Why wouldn't you have a say in what we're doing? This is your life too. I don't know. Maybe I'm just different. I was raised, dually. Okay. I have the principles of my foundation of my grandparents, and I have that friendship that my mom gave me. And I know you guys, you were in church, you know, morning, noon, and night, it seemed 3 or 4 times a week. And I know, you know, you didn't want to do it and you hated that. But your kids need God. So now you just don't take them to church at all. You don't give them any structure. They don't even know the books of the Bible. Disservice. They don't know the 10 Commandments. They don't know the 23rd Psalm. I know you went through hell, but there were some good things that happened in there. You're not going to teach them that? Disservice. You're not going to give them anything, huh? Just scrap it all. All of it was bad. All of it was bad. And I had a bad first couple years growing up. I suffered a lot too. Just like you have a testimony too. We all do. No one's exempt. But you just didn't give them anything. Disservice. I pray that this helps. I pray that this video finds who it needs to find. Like, share, and subscribe. We talk about real stuff here. I'm not playing. I love you. I'm not going to play with you. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Okay? I'm going to leave it there. I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me in this channel. To everyone, all my cousins, y'all know my heart. You know this is from the purest place of my heart. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not downing anyone. I understand we all suffered a lot. But you got to get back up. And you got to get these kids right. I love you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.